The ring she never wore. Part 1. The silence between them. Ava stood at the window, watching the rain draw crooked lines down the glass. Somewhere in the kitchen, her phone buzzed for the 5th time in the last 20 minutes. She didn't need to check it. She already knew it was him. Liam. Her fiancé. The man she thought she'd marry in exactly 3 weeks. 3 weeks. But something about that day, a Tuesday that felt like a bruise, didn't feel right. It started when she came home early from work. A rare half-day, a stroke of luck. She thought about surprising him. She even stopped to pick up the muffins he liked, the blueberry ones with the crumble topping he always stole off hers. The apartment was quiet when she walked in. No music. No TV. Just silence and the muffled sound of a shower running. She walked toward the bedroom, humming lightly, calling his name. And then she heard it. Not the shower. A voice. A woman's voice. Laughter. Ava stood still. She could hear her own heart now, thudding in her ears like fists on a door. She reached for the doorknob with a hand that didn't feel like hers. The door wasn't locked. It opened easily. What she saw would never leave her, not in dreams, not in therapy, not even after what came later. Liam stood in a towel, holding it around his waist with one hand. His other hand was tangled in the hair of a woman Ava had never seen before. She was laughing. Liam wasn't even trying to hide the smirk curling at his lips. And then he saw Ava. His eyes widened. His smile died. Ava. She didn't wait to hear the rest. She turned. Walked. Her body moved before her mind did. Only when she hit the street did she realize she was still holding the muffins. Part 2. The lie that lingered. The rain hadn't stopped. It soaked her clothes and hair, blurred the world around her, but it couldn't wash away what she'd just seen. She walked aimlessly, across the streets of Boston, her heels clicking on wet pavement, the box of muffins slowly crushed in her trembling grip. Every step felt heavier, as if the weight of Liam's betrayal grew with each block she put between them. They had been together for 4 years. He had proposed under cherry blossoms in D.C., with a vintage ring he claimed belonged to his grandmother. He said he had waited his whole life to find her. Liar. It wasn't just the cheating that gutted her. It was the performance. The romantic texts. The long calls when he was away. The way he kissed her forehead and told her she was his future. How many of those moments had been borrowed? Or worse, shared with someone else? Her phone buzzed again. And again. She finally looked. 21 missed calls. 8 messages. The last one just read. Ava. Please. I can explain. Please come home. She didn't reply. Instead, she went to the one place that had always felt like home before Liam ever entered her life, her sister's bookstore. When Mira saw Ava walk through the door, soaked to the skin and shaking, she said nothing. She didn't need to. She just wrapped her in a blanket, poured her tea, and waited. And when Ava finally spoke, her voice cracked open like a dam. He was with someone else. In our bed. While I was buying him muffins. That night, Mira offered her the spare room, but Ava didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, replaying it all. The towel. The laughter. His hand in that woman's hair. Was that the first time? No. Ava wasn't naive. She remembered now, subtle things. Nights he came home too late. A receipt from a hotel he claimed was for a work event. Lipstick she didn't own on one of his shirts. She had wanted to believe him. And that was the worst part. Not that he lied. That she let herself believe it. 3 days passed. Ava didn't answer his calls. She didn't respond to his emails, his mother's messages, or even the delivery of white roses that showed up at Myra's door with a card that said, "One mistake doesn't erase all our memories." But it wasn't just one mistake. It was a betrayal woven into the fabric of their love story, pulled thread by thread until there was nothing left but a hollow shell. On the fourth day, she finally replied. She didn't write a novel. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. She sent him a photo. It was the ring. Lying in a pool of melted wax from an old candle. Burnt at the edges. And underneath, one word. Returned. Part 3, The Rise After the Ruin. 3 weeks had passed. Ava moved into a small loft above Myra's bookstore. The walls were bare, the bed too firm, the kitchen barely stocked, but for the first time in years, it was hers. Every creak in the floor, every dusty window, was hers to claim. She started journaling again. Something she hadn't done since college. Each entry bled with pain, but with each page, the sting faded. The lies began to loosen their grip. She also stopped checking her phone obsessively. Liam's messages had dwindled from desperate apologies to guilt-soaked silence. The final one came on a Tuesday at 3:14 p.m. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you find happiness, even if it's not with me. She didn't reply. Instead, she sat at the tiny desk near her window, sipping black coffee, and began typing something new, a blog post titled "The Day I Bought Muffins and Found the Truth." Within days, it went viral. People from all walks of life, strangers across the world, commented, messaged, and emailed her with their own heartbreaks. Ava hadn't realized just how universal betrayal was. And yet, her story, told with honesty and calm fury, struck a nerve. A publisher reached out 2 weeks later. They wanted her to write a memoir. By the time fall came, Ava was walking with a straighter spine, wearing red lipstick again. She'd traded heartbreak for healing, traded Liam's ghost for the sound of turning pages and supportive strangers. At a book signing in New York, a young woman in her early 20s waited in line for 2 hours just to speak to her. She was crying when she reached the front. "You gave me the courage to leave him," she whispered, clutching Ava's hand. "Thank you." Ava looked into her eyes and smiled, not out of pride, but solidarity. "You saved yourself," she said gently. "You just needed someone to remind you that you could." 6 months later, the memoir hit the New York Times bestseller list. She stood in her apartment, watching her name flash on a morning show's screen, and felt something like closure. Not because the pain disappeared, but because she had built something beautiful from the ruins. The betrayal hadn't defined her. She did. Part 4, The Visit. Ava thought she'd buried every trace of him. The end. But some ghosts don't stay buried. It was a rainy Thursday. She was organizing notes for her second book, a raw, intimate dive into emotional resilience, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, a text lit up the screen. "I'm in town. I just want to see you. Just once." Her heart clenched. Liam. Against her better judgment, curiosity won. They met at a quiet cafe near the river. Ava arrived early, watching raindrops race down the glass. When Liam walked in, she was struck by how small he looked. Not physically, but emotionally. Worn. Diminished. He sat down slowly, eyes unsure. "Ava," he began, voice shaking, "I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed to see you. To see what it looks like when someone survives you." She blinked, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "I don't need closure, Liam," she said softly. "You're not a question I'm still trying to answer." His mouth opened, then shut. "I loved you," he said, finally. "I believe you," she replied. "But you loved yourself more." Silence. He left first. And as Ava watched him disappear into the fog outside, she didn't feel angry. She didn't feel sad. She felt free. Final part, her own name. In the weeks that followed, Ava felt something new. Not relief, not revenge, just peace. She launched her podcast, sharing not only her story but countless others. Women wrote to her. Men too. People who had lost themselves in love and found pieces of themselves in pain. Her inbox overflowed. Her voice resonated. One night, during a live event, someone asked her, "If you could go back, would you choose him again?" Ava smiled gently into the microphone. "No," she said. "But I'd choose myself. Every time." And choosing him back then was part of learning how to do that. The crowd was silent. Then a soft wave of applause. Because there, under stage lights and the quiet understanding of strangers, Ava stood not as the woman who was betrayed, but as the woman who rose. And this time, she wore only one name. Her own.